I'm going to show you a build that's going to make your minions way more OP, and this build takes pretty little cost investment, so you're not going to have to be speccing very much into minions at all, and you'll have your minions doing way more damage passively. So you can combine this minion build with your own build however you want, and it will just be supplemental damage to whatever you're currently running. And this build is going to be focused around the cast on minion death skill. I've done a pretty good amount of testing as to how exactly the skill works at this point, and understanding exactly how this skill works will allow you to exploit it to the fullest. And this build is really easy to make. All you need is at least a level 8 spirit gem, because that's how you get cast on minion death, and that's under the witch tree. And then minimum, you're going to need at least one level 2 support gem for Infernal Legion. And then you need enough spirit to summon minions while also having cast on minion death active. Cast on minion death takes 60 spirit reservation. Then you're also going to need uncut skill gems to make spells that you're going to socket into cast on minion death. So I'm going to explain how cast on minion death works. And before I get into anything, if you don't have any spells socketed into cast on minion death, you'll notice when you click on cast on minion death to activate it, it's going to say disabled, not enough spirit. That's just a bug. If you have enough spirit and it's saying that, all you need to do is socket in a spell for it to start working. And once you have a spell socketed into it, now the way it's going to work is as your minions die, it's going to build up a percent that you'll see at the top of your screen. Once that percent reaches 100, it's going to cast whatever spells are socketed into cast on minion death at the location that the minion that procced it died. Keep in mind, cast on minion death does not raise percent from things like bone constructs decaying. So when your bone constructs die, that percent's not going to go up. We are going to use something in this build that's going to make it very overpowered though, that works very similarly. So we're going to use that Infernal Legion skill on our skeletal warriors. And you'll see that as they decay and die with Infernal Legion, that cast on minion death is going to increase. So Infernal Legion is really overpowered with this skill. The more minions you have active with Infernal Legion, the stronger of spells you're going to be able to cast per minion death. The first really important thing to understand is how this proc skills. So every minion's going to give you 50 energy. Since I have 4 minions dying at once from Infernal Legion, that's 200 energy. Then I have an increase of 33% energy gained from the level of this. So that's 266 energy gained. And then you can also have increases from the quality of the gem. And it says it's modified by minion's power. I don't know if this is something that's implemented yet, but I believe every minion's power right now is just normal, so there isn't a modifier on it. But let me know in the comments if you know of an exception. So right now I'm gaining 266 energy every time the minions die. Then each spell that's socketed has 10 maximum energy per 0.1 seconds of base cast time. So if I have this Frost Bomb socketed, since it has 0.8 seconds of cast time, that means there's 80 maximum energy. In other words, it's going to proc 3 times over. So in other words, it should proc 3 times every time my minions that have Infernal Legion die, since it has 80 base, and I'm getting 266 energy per time they die. This does seem to be capped at spawning 2 spells at once though. So you'll see here that they'll die, and it's kind of hard to tell, but there are 2 that are spawned right on top of each other. And then it goes up to 100% up here and just gets stuck at 100%. I'll show that visually with this flammability curse that has even lower cast time, but it seems to only spawn 2. And in this case, it just goes back to 0%. I'm not sure if this is just a bug from proccing it multiple times, but regardless, right now it seems like you can only proc 2 spells at once. And the reason I wanted to mention that is just so you don't ruin the build by having a lot of little spells and them not proccing as many times as they should. If you're wondering what are the best spells to socket in to cast on minion death, I like a mix of damage and utility. So I have Frost Bomb and then Firestorm. Frost Bomb's pretty good because since these spells proc where the minions die, they're going to have a Frost Bomb in a pretty good spot most of the time. And it has good utility, freezing and slowing enemies. And Firestorm is really good damage and has big AoE. So this is my personal preference. But if you're doing something like having a fire build and you don't want to apply curses yourself, you can have something like Flammability socketed in. And it has really low cost for this, so you can socket something like Flammability and then also have Firestorm. You can use a Jeweler's Orb and then socket more spells but every spell you socket is just going to keep adding to the maximum energy needed in order to proc this. If you have something like a scepter that has extra spirit, and you're going to have more minions that can have Infernal Legion, then that can be an excellent idea. Personally, just don't happen to have one that has extra spirit right now, but it would be great for this build. Ultimately, for the spells that go and cast on minion death, it depends on your build and what you have in your passive tree. So if you, for example, have Spectawat into cold damage, then you'll probably want cold spells in here. So now I want to move on to more things that are making this build good. On top of the minions just dying from Infernal Legion, they're going to be doing 20% of their max life as fire damage per second to enemies that they're close to, and they'll also be igniting enemies they're close to. So based on how much max life they have, they'll be doing a lot of passive damage themselves as well, and having something like increased max life on a scepter is pretty nice for this. You can also throw on wildfire onto that, so enemies that are ignited will spread that to other enemies. That'll build your passive damage even more. You can use a Jeweler's Orb and put minion instability in as well, so they just explode when they're close to dying. That'll also make your cast on minion death proc faster. Since I'm using a Rattling Scepter, I just have minion instability on that, so that both these sets of minions can kind of be working towards proccing cast on minion death. For gear, prioritize minion life and spirit, because minion life is going to give you more damage from Infernal Legion. Increased damage from being in your presence is also pretty good. And increased level to minion skills is good too for just increasing the life of your minions. And this is a flex build, so the rest of your build's really just going to be focused on whatever else you're trying to do. Personally, I'm using a Contagion Totem build, and this just supplements the damage from that. So I'll use my Contagion and Totems to do a lot of my damage, and then I'll also be using Unearth to spawn extra minions, and that Unearth helps with proccing cast on minion death too. And something else I want to mention is make sure to do the Ominous Altars quest in Act 1, and you'll get this in Hunting Grounds. You just need to go to Freythorn and cleanse the ritual altars and then kill the boss in Freythorn. Then in Act 3, you want to go to the Azak Bog and do the Tribal Vengeance questline. Both of these give you permanent spirit upgrades, so you'll be able to have more minions and proc cast on minion death a lot more. Now let's get into our skill tree. Up here, you're going to type in Revive, and the most important thing that you want is this minions revive 15% faster. There are two really easy big nodes you can grab for this. There's one right next to Pure Energy, which is near the bottom of the skill tree. So you can go over to here and you'll get a little bit of increased minion life, and then you can grab Living Death, and that gives you life and reviving faster, which the life is going to make your Infernal Legion do more damage as well. And starting from the bottom, you can branch up through any of these trees. You can even just go the minion life route if you want, but whichever direction you take, head up to here and then grab this minion life, and these minions revive faster. And if you want even more minion life for your Infernal Legion damage, you can grab this life too. But the revive faster is really what we want, because the triggered spells are going to be most of the damage. If you want to go really crazy, or if you're doing a fire build, you can also branch over to here, and then you can grab this Restless Dead, and that's really close to this fire tree. But really all you need to make this build do a lot is these ones, and then these ones, which you're inevitably going to be very close to grabbing just by being a witch. So we only have 2 spec'd in here, and then 4 spec'd in here once you grab all of it. And again, you can grab this maximum life for Infernal Legion if you want. No matter how you branch, you're probably going to take like maximum 10 skill points in order to get all of these though. That's why it's such a good flex build, because you have a lot of room to go other places as well still. And that's it. I hope you enjoy playing with this build. I have more build guides that I plan to do in the future, so feel free to subscribe if you like content like this.